Female footballers from Afghanistan have been given the right to live in the UK after leaving the Taliban-controlled country. I'm Neil, and this is News Review from BBC Learning English. Joining me is Roy. Hello, Roy.
Hello, Neil, and hello, everybody. If you would like to test yourself on the vocabulary around this story, all you need to do is head to our website, bbclearningenglish.com, to take a quiz. But now let's hear more about this story from this BBC News report.
A team of promising young women footballers who fled the Taliban in Afghanistan have been told they can come to live in the UK with their families. The Home Office has said it's finalising visas for 35 members of the Afghan women's development team who are aged between 13 and 19. They're currently staying in a hotel in Pakistan.
Yes, so a group of young female Afghan footballers and their families have been given visas to come and live in the UK. These footballers had left Afghanistan to get away from the Taliban and have been living in Pakistan.
Okay, well, you have been scanning the world's media for this story, and you have picked out some really useful words and expressions. What have you got?
We have resettled, granted, and flee.
Resettled, granted, and flee. So let's have a look at your first headline, please, Roy.
So our first headline comes from the UK, from the Evening Standard, and it reads, Afghan female footballers and families to be resettled in the UK.
Resettled. Forced or helped to move to a different place to live.
Yes. So this word is spelled R-E-S-E-T-T-L-E-D. And it means that somebody has been moved by force or from help from one place to another to live. Now, let's first of all look at that word. Right in the middle of that word is the word settle, which means to move somewhere to live. So, for example, my parents, when I was a lot younger, they moved to the Isle of Wight in the south of the UK to live. So they settled on the Isle of Wight. And it's about a choice, you choosing to do something and it being a permanent arrangement. Now, in the word resettled, we have that prefix RE, which means again. So, for example, Neil, if you do something once and then you do it again, what do?
You redo it.
Redo it. So you're doing it for a second time again. And the idea of resettled is moving where you were settled in one place, you're living in one place, and then you move to another place, you resettle. Now, it's important to remember this is often that you're helped or you're forced to do that move.
That's right. So, for example, if you live, we looked at a story from the Canary Islands with the volcano a few weeks ago. If a volcano explodes, erupts near you and the lava is flowing towards your house and destroys it, or there are floods, for example, you may have to be resettled. That's moved to a new place. And in that situation, there is something forcing you, a natural disaster, but the authorities are there to help you resettle. In other situations, we can think of, for example, with many indigenous populations around the world, governments force them to move on to new settlements. And that was done by force. So it was not with the best intentions.
No, absolutely not. And you used an interesting word there. You used the word settlement, which is the place where people settle. And the people that do the settling are called settlers.
That's right, yeah. So that word settle in the middle there is the key to all of this.
Absolutely.
Okay, let's get a summary. So we mentioned natural disasters and people having to move. We covered a story a while ago about a flood in Australia in which crocodiles were seen swimming up and down the streets of a town. Where can our viewers find it?
All you need to do is click the link in the description, and I can tell you if there were crocodiles swimming down my streets, I would want to be resettled immediately.
I'm sure you would. Okay, let's have a look at your next headline.
Okay, so our next headline comes from The National, and it reads, Afghan women's football squad granted UK visas.
Granted. given something officially.
Yes, so this word is spelled Granted, and it means to be given the permission or the right to do something. So, for example, in this case, these people have been given visas. They have been granted visas. Another good example is you can grant somebody access to a building. You can give that person the permission to enter the building. Or, for example, on computers, if you can't access my file, I can grant you the access. It's about giving the permission.
Okay, Roy, so you said it's like give. So why don't we just use give? What's the difference between grant and give?
Well, yeah, I mean, informally you could say they've been given visas, but grant is a bit more official. It's a bit more about giving permission to do something. It's an official thing. And it's also has this sort of idea of it being about a favor or helping someone to do something.
That's right, yeah. We see this word grant also as a noun, don't we? And it refers often to financial help.
Yeah, again, that important word there is help, and it's facilitating something to happen. So a good example of this is maybe if somebody needs help or they don't have access to finances to go to university, they receive a grant. Or maybe a charity or a person receives a grant to do something. It's about being helped and that idea again of a favor or permission to do something.
Yeah, and there's another expression quite common, isn't there? To take something for granted.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. We hear this a lot, especially parents talking about their children. Oh, he or she takes me for granted. Now, this idea is believing that something is true or it's available without really questioning or asking something. Now, a great example of this, just recently, something's happening in the UK, isn't it, Neil?
That's right, yes. People may have heard that we've had problems getting petrol in the UK. And so there are queues at petrol stations, or the petrol stations are just empty. And it's a kind of shocking surprise for people here because we take it for granted that there will be petrol when you go to a petrol station.
Yeah, and I can think of another example. In the UK, at the start of the COVID pandemic, I went to the supermarket and the shelves were there was nothing in the supermarket and toilet paper wasn't there. Now, I take for granted that my supermarket will have toilet paper. And I think a lot of people took that for granted. And when the toilet paper wasn't there anymore, it was a big shock.
That's right. Yes, there are many things that we take for granted that perhaps we shouldn't.
Yeah.
Okay, let's get a summary. One of the things that we take for granted is that we will be here forever on this earth, but anyone who takes a step back and looks at us floating in space will realize that actually we're a fragile little place. And space is a theme that we have been looking at in detail at BBC Learning English recently, haven't we, Roy?
Yes, we have indeed. Now, this episode is all about who owns space. Now, I learned a lot from this episode. I found it really interesting. And all you need to do to watch it is click the link in the description.
Okay, let's have a look at our next headline.
Okay, so our next headline comes from The Sun, and it reads, Afghan girls' football team will be allowed to come to Britain to flee the Taliban.
Flee, to leave a place of danger.
Right, so this word is spelled F-L-E-E, and it's about escaping a dangerous situation or something that you're very scared of. So we use it, and it's got this idea of being in panic or chaos. You're running away very, very quickly. We often flee dangerous situations. Now, earlier on, you spoke about that volcano going off in the Canary Islands. A lot of people will have to have fled from that situation. They will have run away, escaped that situation.
Yeah, interesting past tense there you used, Roy. Fled. It's not fleed, it's fled.
Yes, so it's flee, fled, fled. F-L-E-D, fled. Now, obviously, this is for very extreme situations that we use this literally, with volcanoes or very dangerous situations. But we do sometimes use it in an exaggerated sense, don't we? We like to exaggerate with the word flee.
Yeah, so perhaps you're at a party and someone arrives who you just don't want to see, ex-girlfriend, ex-boyfriend, or someone you've had an argument with or something, and you might flee. It means escape that situation because it's uncomfortable for you.
Yeah.
And there's another word which sounds the same but has a completely different meaning, isn't there?
Yes, there is. Now, in the spirit of the homophones that we like to talk about, there is another word spelled F-L-E-A. And this is a small creature that jumps. It does huge jumps, and it usually bites animals or people. It was believed to be responsible for spreading the plague. It was biting people and spreading the plague back in the day. I'm really scared of these creatures. They're making me feel itchy right now.
I'm kind of itchy just thinking about fleas. I would like to flee this situation.
Go for it.
Okay, let's get a summary. Time now for a recap of the vocabulary, please, Roy.
Yes, we had resettled, forced or helped to move to a different place to live. We had granted, given something officially, and we had flee, leave a place of danger.
If you would like to test yourself on the vocabulary you've heard in this program, go to our website, bbclearningenglish.com. You'll find a quiz and all kinds of other activities. Thanks for joining us, and goodbye.
Bye.
Designed to monitor terrorists is being used to spy on journalists and activists, according to a new investigation. This is News Review from BBC Learning English. I'm Neil, and joining me today is Roy. Hi, Roy.
Hello, Neil, and hello, everybody. Yeah, if our wonderful viewers want to test themselves on the vocabulary around this story, all they need to do is head to our website, bbclearningenglish.com, for a quiz. But now let's listen to a BBC News report about this story.
It's alleged that human rights activists and politicians around the world may have been monitored using a mobile phone spyware intended to target criminals and terrorists. A group of investigative journalists claims the Pegasus software, which has been sold to countries including Saudi Arabia and Bahrain, has been widely misused. The software firm NSO strongly denies that and is considering legal action.
So the story is a military-grade piece of spyware known as Pegasus, which was designed to monitor the activities of terrorists and criminals around the world, is now apparently being used to spy on journalists and activists. That is according to some investigative journalism.
You've been scanning the world's media for this story, haven't you, Roy? You've picked out 3 really useful words. What have you got?
Yes, we have targets, hack, and rogue.
Targets, hack, and rogue. So let's have a look at your first headline, please.
Our first headline comes from right here back at home from the BBC, and it reads, Pegasus, spyware sold to governments targets activists.
Targets. Chooses something to attack or pay attention to.
Yeah, so this word is spelled Targeets, and it's being used as a verb in the headlines.
Yeah, so targets, I know what targets are. And there's that game where you throw little arrows towards a board that is a target. What's the connection between this and this story?
Well, that game is called darts, and I am absolutely terrible at it. I get this little dart, and I try and throw it at the target. I try and hit the target. That, in that case, is a noun, target there. I'm terrible at it. I always hit the wall. People need to duck. But the idea there is I'm trying to hit the target, hit the board. And in the verb form, we say that we are targeting something, trying to hit it, or we're paying attention to it.
Okay, so that's a very literal definition we just gave there, with somebody actually physically throwing something at a object called a target. But we use it more figuratively, don't we?
We do. So as I said, when you want to pay attention to something, to monitor something, you can target someone or something. And that's what it's being used as in the headline. They're not trying to literally hit the journalists or activists, but they are paying attention to them. They have selected them as their focus, if you like.
Yeah, now this is a word that we see often in connection to advertising.
We do. So quite commonly, adverts will identify a target market. So quite commonly, we see these adverts for toys which target children. You know, they're very vibrant. There's a happy child playing with the toy, and they're used to target children or to target the parents to give them an idea of what to buy. So there's a lot of kind of psychology behind it. People are selecting a target audience or market, thinking about what people want to see and when they will be watching it.
Yes, also a word used often in the media, a target audience. We have a target audience, don't we, Roy?
We do, yeah. We want to, our target audience are people around the world who want to learn English.
We also see this word used a lot in the world of business, don't we, Roy?
We do, and it's quite commonly used as a noun or a verb as well. And it's when they have an objective, if you like. So a business may target an increase in profits, or the business target is to increase their profits.
Absolutely. Okay, let's get a summary.
Grammarly does more than catch errors. With Grammarly, you can find really good,
Now, talking about targets, we have a target that the UK government had to reduce obesity. Where can our viewers find that story?
All our wonderful viewers need to do is click the link in the description.
Time now for your next headline, please.
Yes, our second headline comes from CNN, and it reads, Washington Post. Investigation finds Israeli-designed spyware was used to hack journalists and activists around the world.
Hack. Get unauthorized access into a system or computer.
Yes, so this is a very, very small word, and it's spelled H-A-C-K. Now, Neil, are you scared of, you see these stories all the time in the media about people who get access to your computer and steal your information? Are you scared about this?
Yes, I don't want to have my computer hacked or any sort of virus installed on it.
So we use things like internet security and antivirus. It's good that you're aware of that. So that's to prevent people or things hacking our computer, stealing information like credit card details and other sensitive information. And this is the meaning in the headline. People are hacking, or somebody hacks somebody's phone to get sensitive information.
Yeah, and you've used the word in several different forms there as a verb, like in the headline, to hack. And we also talk about the person who does it, a hacker, and the activity, hacking, all of these very negative things. But the word hack, I'm pleased to say, can be used positively, especially in combination with the word life.
Absolutely. So one of my favorite life hacks is if somebody's fridge is smelling, I put coffee grounds in a bowl and put it into the fridge. And it is a natural deodorizer. It removes the smell. This is what we call a life hack, a tip or a trick to make your life a little bit easier.
Yeah, doesn't it just make your fridge smell like coffee?
I love coffee, and I don't know if it actually works, but it seems to work, so I'm a winner.
Okay, so a perfect example of a life hack, and that's a really positive use of the word hack, which is normally really negative. Now, to look at another meaning of the word hack, Roy, you were in your garden having a really bad time this weekend, weren't you?
Oh, yeah, it was terrible. I hadn't cut my grass for a few weeks, and it was so high. It was so high, and I had to get a big, long knife and really hack at it, cut imprecise cuts, just like over and over again, hacking at the grass and hacking at the plants to cut them down. And that is another meaning of the word hack. And it's a verb in that case.
Absolutely. Okay, let's get a summary. Well, we're looking at the word hack, and the word hack appears in the name of one of our series, Lingo Hack. We've got a great story about the Loch Ness Monster, haven't we, Roy?
We do, and all our wonderful viewers need to do is click the link in the description below.
Okay, let's have a look at your next headline.
So our next headline comes from Mail Online, and it reads, 50,000 VIPs, including Jamal Khashoggi's wife, were targeted by cyber hackers for rogue regimes.
Rogue. Describes behavior that's unexpected or damaging.
Yeah, so in this headline, it's being used as an adjective, and it is spelt R-O-G-U-E. Now, you know that I love animals, right, Neil?
Absolutely, yes. You love your dog amongst other animals.
I do. And quite commonly, you see animals in the wild in a group, sometimes referred to as a herd. And this is a normal way that the animals will travel. But occasionally, an animal will split off. One animal will separate from the herd and go into a town and village and cause damage and destruction. And we call this animal a rogue animal.
Right, okay. Not used only to describe animals, is it? I've seen this word as an adjective used to describe countries or states.
Yeah, quite commonly you hear of a rogue country or a rogue state, and it refers to a country that's not behaving in an expected way, potentially that is dangerous or damaging to other countries around the world.
Yeah, and you see this word applied very often to North Korea, for example.
You do, especially when there's things like missile tests and things like that.
So we've got animals, we've got states. Can you use this to talk about people?
Absolutely. You can say that a person who's maybe behaving again in an unexpected or dangerous way is a rogue. Now, notice there that I used it as a noun. We don't say a rogue person. Usually we say a rogue. It's
quite old-fashioned, though, isn't it?
It is. It's not as common now as it was. You quite common see it in literature, older books, something maybe by Oscar Wilde or something like that. A person is a rogue.
Yeah, okay. But we can also use it to talk about someone in a positive way. So we've said that they a bit unexpected or do sort of bad things, but they can be a lovable person, a lovable rogue.
A lovable rogue, yeah. So this is maybe a person that you know, maybe a friend who's very charming and you absolutely love him, but he's a bit cheeky and he does things that maybe are a bit unexpected.
Yeah, you don't want to trust this person.
No.
Okay. One final thing to say about the word rogue. We saw the spelling there with the UE at the end. We don't pronounce that. We just end with that G sound, rogue.
Yeah, it's not rogue, rogu, roguey.
It's not rogue.
Rogue.
No, it's just rogue. Okay, let's get a summary. Time now then, Roy, for a recap of our vocabulary, please.
We had targets. Chooses something to attack or pay attention to. We had hack. Gets unauthorized access into a system or computer. And we had rogue. Describes behavior that is unexpected or damaging.
If you want to test yourself on the vocabulary, there's a quiz on our website at bbclearningenglish.com, and we're all over social media. Take care and see you next time. Goodbye.
Bye.
In Ukraine continues. This is News Review from BBC Learning English. I'm Rob, and joining me to talk about the language being used in the headlines about this story is Roy. Hello, Roy.
Hello, Rob, and hello, everyone. Now, Russia is continuing to attack Ukraine after launching a devastating attack last week. Russian troops have taken over parts of eastern Ukraine and are attempting to control the country's capital, Kyiv. But Ukrainian forces are offering strong resistance. As the number of dead climbs, President Putin stands accused of shattering peace in Europe.
Yeah, well, the situation is changing fast, but we're going to look at 3 words and expressions from current news headlines that can help you understand how the conflict is being reported in English. What are your 3 words and expressions, Roy?
We have spiral, free fall, and rising to.
That's spiral, free fall, and rising to. Okay, let's have a look at your first news headline, please.
Okay, so our first headline comes from Relief Web, and it reads, "Crisis in Ukraine could spiral into widespread humanitarian catastrophe."
That spiral, quickly become worse.
Okay, so spiral is spelled S-P-I-R-A-L, and it is being used as a verb, and it means to quickly become or get worse.
I've heard about this word spiral in terms of a shape. It's lots of circles together, isn't it?
That's correct. Now let's talk about that idea of spiral as a shape. So it's basically circles going round and round. Now we talk about it in terms of a spiral staircase. So it's a staircase that you walk down and it goes round and round and round. And we also have notebooks that have a spiral bound notebook that have these kind of metal circles that keep all of the pages together. That's the idea of a spiral, or as an adjective, spiral staircase, spiral bound book. But we're not talking about the shape in the headline. We're talking about a situation. And if a situation spirals, it means that it is getting worse very, very quickly.
So we can talk about prices spiraling, the price of oil spiraling. It's getting worse. The situation's getting worse.
Yeah, I mean, we'll talk about those prices in a second, but when we talk about a spiraling situation, for example, an argument between two people, if it gets worse and worse and worse, the argument starts off small and it just becomes incredibly big, we can say it's spiraling out of control. It's getting worse and worse and worse. Now, you talked there, price of things. When we talk about the price of things spiraling, we often mean that the price is increasing and going up very, very rapidly. So you talked about the price of oil. Now the situation is worse because things are more expensive, but the price spiraling or spiraling out of control means that it is becoming very expensive very quickly.
Thanks for that, Roy. Let's have a summary. Let's have a look at your second headline now, please, Roy.
Okay, so our second headline is from The Telegraph, and it reads, "Panic in Russia as economy in freefall."
That's freefall, uncontrolled drop in value or strength.
Okay, so freefall is commonly seen in dictionaries as two words. F-R-E-E, second word F-A-L-L. But you will and you can see it in some cases as one word, for example, in the headline, and it's commonly used as one word in the expression in free fall. And what it means is that something is falling very, very quickly or dropping very, very quickly without control.
A literal meaning, I guess, would be somebody with a parachute. If they jumped out of an aeroplane with a parachute, they would drop down. They would free fall, wouldn't they? They would drop down, gravity pulling them down to the earth.
Yeah, commonly when you're talking about that, it's before they open their parachute. So they don't open their parachute and they jump and they just fall, free fall. There is nothing to stop them falling. When they open their parachute, they're no longer in free fall. But we're not talking about the literal meaning of free fall here. We're talking sort of more about prices and things like this, or in the case of the headline, the economy in free fall. It is dropping, the value of something is dropping very, very quickly.
Sometimes we can say dropping like a stone as well.
Yeah, commonly when you're talking about the value of something, for example, stocks or shares, if shares on the stock market just fall very rapidly, the value of them fall, we can say it's dropping like a stone, because obviously a stone is very heavy and it drops. But we wouldn't normally say the economy is dropping like a stone. It's normally for individual things.
And just to clarify then, to free fall, it's kind of non-stop. It can't be stopped.
Absolutely. There's nothing that you can do to stop it, or that's the feeling that it's out of control. The drop is just out of control and you can't stop it falling.
Yeah. Okay, thanks for that, Roy. Let's have a summary. Okay, Roy, can we now have a look at your third headline, please?
Okay, so our third headline comes from BBC News, and it reads, Ukraine's Volodymyr Zelensky, the comedian president who is rising to the moment.
Rising to, working hard to overcome a difficult situation.
Okay, so this is rising to. It is a phrasal verb. First word, R-I-S-I-N-G. Second word, to, T-O. Now, if you rise to something, it basically means that you make a lot of effort to meet a challenge or a problem or a situation, to overcome that situation.
So here we're talking about the Ukraine's president, who used to be an actor and comedian. Now he's working hard to protect the freedom of his country, I guess.
Yeah. So the moment that we're talking about, the rising to the moment in this sense, is the attack on Ukraine. And we talk about, commonly we hear this expression, rise to the challenge. So it's doing something that you wouldn't normally do to kind of overcome this situation.
There's another phrasal verb when you rise to something, isn't there? When we react to something in a way that someone wants you to. So, especially by becoming angry, they're trying to get a reaction from you, and you might rise to it.
Yeah. Now this is a slightly different meaning. If you continually try to provoke me, and you try to make me angry, and I stay calm, but eventually I just kind of snap, then I rise to it. I rise to your kind of provocations. However, in the headline, we're not talking about me becoming angry or somebody becoming angry. We're talking about meeting a challenge. There is a challenge or a situation that needs to be overcome, that needs to be dealt with. For example, in the headline, it's talking about the attack, and the president and the country is rising to that situation. They are meeting that challenge.
Can we sometimes say you're stepping up to the challenge as well?
Yeah, you can. Yeah.
Okay, that's great. Okay, let's have a summary then. Okay, Roy, it's time now for you to recap the words and expressions we've discussed today.
Okay, so we had spiral, quickly become worse. We had free fall, uncontrolled drop in value or strength. And we had rising to, working hard to overcome a difficult situation.
Thanks, Roy. Now, as I said, the situation is changing rapidly, and these were the news headlines at the time of recording this programme. And we've reached the end of News Review for today. Thank you so much for watching. Do join us again next time. Bye for now.
Bye.